Phillips. If you are watching me on YouTube, I want to welcome and thank you for joining me for another episode of the Never Lose a Deal podcast. You are either watching me, like I said, on YouTube or listening to me on the numerous podcasting streaming apps. And I always never want to assume that you do know who I am. So I always like to introduce myself with saying I'm a business funding advisor and I help and specialize with working with real estate investors, helping them navigate the waters of different types of alternative funding strategies to be able to expand their portfolio or to leverage their portfolio using what I call debt and credit. So I am not new to the conversation of debt and credit. So that is why I'm coming to you today, because I am going to talk about distressed debt. I'm going to talk about distressed debt and how it can be profitable for real estate investors. And so if you are not familiar with distressed debt, I've been doing a series on investing in debt. And I always like to start with saying this strategy is not a strategy where you are going to get rich quick. This is a long play. So, for those who are thinking, what is the quick play for me to become a real estate millionaire? By all means, this is not it. So, today I'm going to go more into it. So I'm going to break down. Just recently got a tape from a bank of 100 non-performing assets, and so distressed debt, like I originally said, is debt that is secured by real estate. And so these assets that I'm going to show with you, I'm going to bring it out on screen, are all over the country. And so these assets have mortgages, and a lot of these mortgages are non performing. So the particular bank and lender is looking to sell the assets. Now you may be wondering, okay, Lorelia, well, how does that work? How is that profitable? Well, the way it is profitable, it allows you to be the bank. If you've been listening to my other episodes that I've been, really drilling down, talking about investing in debt, I always say I'm not new to telling people there's 100 ways, 1,000 ways to skin a cat. You yourself have to find out what is your sweet spot when it comes to investing in real estate. If you are that person who desires to leverage credit, to leverage debt, to invest in debt, then you need to understand the moving parts that that are part of your real estate equation. Many people only like to focus on one side. And what is the one side? Oh, how can I leverage credit? But then they don't understand the real estate side with, okay, now that I have this credit, how do I invest it? What do I invest it in? And so this video is not to convince you that, hey, you need to be doing this, but it's to give you an idea of the correlation between the two. Although I'm not going to focus a lot on the funding piece in this video, I'm going to primarily focus on the investing side in terms of investing in non-performing notes, because with non-performing notes, you are really investing in the paper of the asset. And with you investing in the paper, it allows you to become the bank. And so if you decide to move forward and purchase these notes that I'm going to show you, you will be in a position of being the bank, and then individuals will pay you they pay them when they pay their mortgage, they're paying you. And so I've kind of went over this in, other videos. I didn't really want to do a deep dive on, really explaining what non-performing notes are. I just kind of want to break down the tape because I recently got this tape and I want to show you what it looks like to do this. So I'm going to be sharing my screen. So give me a second. Okay, so if you are looking at my screen, as you can see, it's a big Excel spreadsheet. So it's nothing fancy. You're not looking at homes at this point. This is an example of what it looks like when you get a non-performing um, asset loan tape. So the lender will send you an Excel spreadsheet of all the different assets. And so I'm going to go over the columns for you. So you got the service loan number, delinquent status, due date. These are the due dates of the last payment that was received from the borrower. You got principal and interest. You have the different cash flow. These are the amount of cash payments that the borrower could have made. You have the property history. You have the deferred balance. You have the UPB. UPB stands for I mean, unpaid balance. You have estimated legal balance. You have last payment date. You have days of last payment, the interest rate. If it was modified, the original terms. I didn't really see that much in the original term column as I go down. The remaining terms, how many years are on that the borrower has to pay on it, current maturity date, original maturity date, bankruptcy, if it's in bankruptcy, if any foreclosure has started, if it's a foreclosure, has the status started. Because remember, these are non-performing notes. So these notes are not performing, meaning that the borrower may be paying on them or the borrower may not have paid on them in years. But at the end of the day, anything that's past 90 days in real estate is considered non-performing. Of course, the borrower first and last name, property address, city, state. If there's a bankruptcy, the case number, the type of filing, if it's dismissed or discharged, the date it was filed, of the BPO and the property BPO valuation and date. So this is just a quick overview of the particular tape. So what I like to do is there's only certain states that I invest in. So I like to always do a sort. And so what I do is I invest primarily in the states of North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and New Jersey. All the other states I don't primarily invest in. So what I do is when I get a tape, I take those states out and I just keep the ones that I want to focus on. Now, one may say, well, really, why are you showing, us this? Is because, you know, a lot of people want to leverage debt, they want to get access to credit, but they really don't know what that looks like. Made a mistake. Let me unselect that. And they really don't know what that looks like because many people have been sold on, I need access to credit, I want to leverage debt, but then they don't know what they want to invest in. So what happens is that they create this scenario of, I need the money, but then um even with them needing the money, they don't know what they want to invest in. And so I always like to tell people that the deal comes first. When you know what you're investing in, when you know the moving parts, then you analyze and make an estimation of what type of deal you're doing, the financing that's needed if you're using financing. I've talked about the business funding capital stack that I share with clients. Are you using secured, are you using unsecured, are you using asset based funding, or are you going to use any type of private equity? That can be self-directed IRA, that can be an investor's bank account, that can be an investor's checking account. Whatever the case may be, you need to, one, know what you are investing in. And so that is why I show people the correlation of First, you analyze the deal. Now, of course, this may not be what you're into, but you always want to start with the deal. It doesn't start with, let me get the money and then I'll figure out the deal. It's first figure out the deal and then the money is next. And so that is why I'm looking at my phone because I just want to make sure. It's kind of hard to toggle back and forth just in case I have any questions. So just give me a second. Just want to make sure. I think I had a mic that was watching. I saw on YouTube. So Mike Mitchell, hello and welcome. So now that I've broke down the tape, I've taken out the states that I'm not interested in, and I'm left with Georgia, North Carolina, New Jersey, and South Carolina. So now that I've did that, the next thing I like to do is I like to take out um the low balances. And what do I mean by low balances? Let me just do a sort. And what do I mean by low balances? So this column right here, column D, principal and interest, is that I want cash flow. I want to invest in an asset that can give me some type of cash flow that's above $250. So I don't want to invest in anything that the mortgage payment of the interest and penalty is the interest, principal and interest is less than $250. So that is why I'm doing a sort of column D. So I do a sort, and I did it the wrong way. I'm doing highest to lowest. Let me do lowest to highest. Let me go back. I think I'm messing this up. Okay. Sort. Column D. All right. Okay. Okay. So now what I did is I did a sort, and as you can see, now it's giving me principal and interest of $126. And of course, I don't want any of those. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take those out because I'm not interested in investing in this. Or should I'm gonna just hide them? Now I can't even figure out how to hide them. Now, I don't claim to be. I want to delete these. Yes, selected rows. Okay. Oh, I hope that. I'm just. I don't know why I can't figure out how to hide these things. Well, for illustration purposes, we're not going to look at anything that is below column 17. So let's see what we're left with after doing that. So we want to go back over to the city and state. Okay. All right. All right. So we're looking good now. We're looking good. So now after that, now that we've decided that we've sorted the sheet out, that we don't want to look at anything that is below $250. And so that would be row 13 to row 17. All right, so now what we want to go do is go at the end of the spreadsheet, because the one thing about investing in notes is that you are looking, it's primarily being able to look at the numbers. So column to right, all right, insert. I'm just going to put a few columns because I'm going to need a few insert columns to the right. Okay, we got 3. So the first thing we want to look at is we want to calculate the equity dollar amount. Now, the one thing I want to point out is that, once again, what I said about analyzing the deal. As a note investor, we have a UPB, unpaid balance. This is our numbers right here. So this is, or estimated legal balance. When it goes to putting in a bid for an asset, this column is going to play a pivotal role. Of course, unpaid balance, the BPO, fair market value, all those columns are going to play a pivotal role. And so that is what I'm doing now. So we're going to do some calculations to look at the numbers to be able to decide, are these, how to figure out what assets we want to look at. So what we're going to do is the lender gave us a BPO. Now, of course, the BPO could be based on Zillow or some information online. But once again, we're gauging our numbers. Now, if we decide to put a bid in for the asset, we're going to do a deeper due diligence, if our bid get accepted. And then if our bid gets accepted, then we're going to do a deeper due diligence, because we're going to order a BPO for ourselves. But for now, we can only go on what the bank has said the BPO is. So we're going to take column AT, and we're going to minus estimated balance. That is not right. Why is it giving me a date? Let me do this manually. That minus make sure I don't have no type of formatting. This looks like it has some type of formatting in it. Okay, AT13. Because the date, I don't know why it's putting a date in it. It's not even. Let me just manually go over. Okay. You, if you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm trying to make sure this formula is right. Okay, I don't know why it's, let me see. Yeah, it's like these are all dates. Because if I manually take the 80,000 and minus it by the estimated balance, I'm just going to run these numbers. Estimated legal balance of 36,343. I'm going to get 43,000. So I don't know why we're getting a date. There's some type of formatting in this spreadsheet that I need to clear out. Let me see. Okay, now it seems to be good. I've cleared out the formatting. Now we have it. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. We have a number. So we got an equity dollar amount of 43,000. What that means is that's how much equity we have in some of these properties. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy. And I'm going to go all the way down. Okay, so we have our equity dollar amount. The next one we want to do is we want to do equity percentage. Now, for those who may be saying, well, this isn't no real estate, we're not looking at no deals. This is real estate. But what you will find out in life is that the higher you go up in the real estate food chain. Oh, wow, it already tells us. Once again, it's got this old nasty. It's got this format in it. Okay. Now we have an equity percentage. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to lose you soon. So let's clean this up. Change this to a percentage. Oh, we're looking good. That's now column AW is the equity percentage. This is how much equity percentage wise we have in these particular assets. Let me. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not near my charger. If I lose you all, I'll do part 2 to this, but in the meantime, so right now what we did so far, we figured out our equity dollar amount, our equity percentage. Percentage numbers are looking good. That's how much percentage of equity we have in these assets. So what that tells me is that, Of course, if I was to put in a bid, and a lender sees that assets have a lot of equity, the chances of me trying to bid on these assets for 50 cent on a dollar is probably going to be slim to none. So I'm going to have to probably bring my bid percentage up, because these properties have a lot of equity. All right. So once we do that, we want to do an 80% because since these assets do have some equity, we are going to look at 80% of the legal balance. Okay. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take the estimated balance, which I believe was U13, and we're going to multiply it by 80%. Okay. Let's clean this up some. Okay. And now that we copy the formula, now let's clean this up. All right. Okay. So this is our bid number if we were to bid on these assets. So let's kind of analyze. So this particular property was in, I believe, South Carolina. The estimated legal balance of 36,000 and UPB of 27. And we would possibly do a bid of 29,000. Remember, we're doing rough numbers, and we have a BPO that says that it has equity of 80K. So these are some of the things we're looking at. And we have a high equity percentage. But then once again, this is in Fairmount, North Carolina. Let's look at interest rate is 4%. Um, Last payment made was this year. Okay, so they are paying it. They made a payment and of 252, 126, 757. So they sporadically make payments, but their payment of interest together is $126. So remember, we said we don't really want anything that is below $250, is because once again, by the time we pay the servicing costs, because we're going to have a servicer, remember we're acting as the bank. So we don't run no janky operation where the people are paying us the money. They actually do pay a servicer. So the servicer fees, if it's a performing note, between $15 to $25, and if it's a non-performing asset, it can go as high as 90. So that wouldn't leave us any money to really make a profit on this particular asset, even though we have a lot of equity, high equity percentage. The amount is not that high to move forward on the asset. But then if we do modify and we get the borrower to start paying on time, we're pretty much losing out. We're not really making any money on this particular asset. So remember, we said we were going to look at everything from 18 down. So let's look at this. So we have about 65% in equity as a percentage. Dollar amount 87,000. BPO is saying 133. Now they were in bankruptcy. I know some people see bankruptcy and they run scared, but understand that it's been dismissed. So seems like they had one in 1995, and they stopped paying on it. So so there you go. So that doesn't scare me. But even if the person is in bankruptcy, a lot of people they would run scared. But what that means is that is a definite stream of income and payments that you are receiving because they have to pay the courts. So you have to look at, you have to consider that. So that particular property was in South Carolina. Let's look at it. Okay. Now this looks like it says remaining term. They didn't put anything here, but it says current maturity date is 2030. But let's look and see if they made any payments. So the last payment they made is in 2017, and $255 is their payment, but they haven't made payments since 2017. So, of course, this is not the type of borrower that we're going to try to modify and get this performing. This is just something that we're going to just move forward and just foreclose on. So, of course, if that is part of your investment strategy, I know for me, I'm not looking to go down to South Carolina to foreclose on a home and get the asset because I'm buying cash flow. I'm not buying the asset. So that is the beauty of investing in real estate notes because it allows you to be the bank. And all I want is a cash flow of stream of payments. I don't want the asset because with real estate notes, you are buying the paper. You're not buying the assets. But if once again, there's 100 ways to skin a cat. Your strategy is your strategy. If that's your strategy that you want the asset, you want the physical home, then this may be something that would work for you. But that's not the strategy that I'm going for. So of course, I'm going to pass on that. Okay, let's look at a few now. Of course, don't have enough time because I know I'm going to lose you all. Is saying that I need to plug up my laptop and I'm not even near my cord. I don't even know what my cord is at. So let's look at another asset. Okay. So let's look at 19. 19 is Georgia. Okay. 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 So we have a equity percentage of 72%. If we would put a bid in, we'll do it around roughly about 27,000. We got an equity dollar amount of over 90K, so there's plenty of equity. This is Augusta. This is a Augusta property. Not in bankruptcy. This is the state, so it's a probate home. Yes, estimated legal balance of 30, 34, UPB of 23. And looks like the last payment, they have a P&I payment of $274 every month, but looks like they've made no payments. And it looks like they've made no payments. But what's strange is this is saying, okay, their last payment was in February 15, 2021. So the fact that it's an estate sale tells me that the borrower has passed away. So of course, this would definitely be something that to find out if the heirs are looking to keep the home, and if they are, whoever is the estate, the person who is ahead of the that's managing the estate, to see if they want to keep the home. But of course, if the borrower has passed away, am I moving forward for foreclosure? This is once again not something that I'm looking to do. So I would pass on that. So this is just an example of the analyzing that you do when it comes to mortgage notes. So let's look at another one. So this one has 80% legal balance of 16. That's roughly what we will probably bid at. It has about a 75% of equity in it, and the equity dollar amount is 64,000. So let's look at this. This is South Carolina. The maturity date is in 6 years. It matures in 2029. Looks like they had a mod because the bank has put some notes in here. They did a mod last year. Um, Last payment they made was in 2022. Um, and as you can see, unpaid balance of about 19. So of course, did make no payments in 2023. Last payment was in 2022, and they have a balance of $291. So I mean, I definitely would highlight that. That would be something that I would potentially bid on. And I don't know why this is not letting me color it. All right. So I would put that in yellow because that's telling me that I would potentially put a bid on that. Of course, I haven't looked at it, so of course my next step is to go online and make sure it is at home because I don't want it to be I don't want it to be land. I'm not interested in looking at land. So let's look at the next one. Okay, we got 77 percent in equity. Legal balance is about 32. Maybe we'll roughly put in a bid for that. Equity of 139 based on the bank's BPO. That's how much equity dollar amount we have in there. This is in North Carolina, not in bankruptcy. Matures in 2029, so we got some years. We don't have an interest rate on this, but no modification. The last payment it's been since they've made a payment has been 210 days ago in 2022, and their payment amount, looks like they did a lump sum. So remember these columns, these cash columns, a lot of times the bank, they don't give you information on a tape with these cash balances, but this particular tape does, which is great because it looks like this person has been doing bulk payments. So they did a bulk payment of about $4,000. So that tells me this is definitely a great deal to be able to bid on. I mean, it's telling me, the last payment they made was in 2014, but then they made a lump sum. And if my strategy was to purchase it from the bank and do a foreclosure, because I mean, this is 9 years old, definitely don't want to do a modification with somebody, a 9-year old home. But, if my strategy was to buy it and foreclose on it, then it would be a no brainer. So, this is just some of the things that, I do when I'm analyzing assets. Now, remember, I said this video is not going to really go into funding, and I'm not really giving you a definite number on what I would bid, but understand this 80% legal balance. The column AX, these numbers. I mean, this is an example of, if I was to put a bid and won the bid at $22,000, I'm not looking for a mortgage note. I mean, a mortgage loan, because I'm already investing in mortgage notes. So you don't get a mortgage loan to invest in mortgage notes. Now, the next thing is this is where funding comes in at. Am I going to use my own funding? I did a video on this. I would run the numbers of how much with using funding it's going to cost me to use funding. I need to know that number first. I don't start with, I need funding. I start with, okay, this is, if I was to use funding, what is going to cost me in order to use the funding, whether it's personal or business, to move forward on this asset. I've said before, if I can control an asset at $22,000 that has, let's just say we get the borrower back operating and paying on this particular mortgage, it can be a win-win because now I have a cash flow of income coming into me, And then also, but I still need to know the cost of what it's going to cost me to leverage the funding. Or I can just X the funding and now consider using private equity. Whereas there's a person who would be willing to invest in this particular asset with me. There's no debt attached to it, and it allows the money to work. You're putting the money to work. So imagine a private investor. It could be your self-directed IRA that's being put to work, or it could be another investor self-directed IRA. And what happens is that the money is being put to work. So the money is being put to work by it investing in an asset to receive a stream of income. Now, of course, this is illustration purposes. Keep in mind these are non-performing assets, so there's still due diligence to do. But I just want to give you an idea of that's the analysis that you want to take when you are looking at an asset. It doesn't start with I need the money, and then once I get the money, then I'll figure out how to leverage the money. This is an example of I'm giving you my own example. Before I even consider the money, I'm looking at the asset. I'm looking at what it's going to cost me, what's my return on the money. I didn't even get to those percentages because I know I'm going to lose battery power. But I'm going to look at all my numbers across the board and then make a decision on what's the funding piece that I want to be able to leverage in order to move forward with this asset. So understand there's a lot of plates spinning. You have the plate that's spinning on investing in an asset, which is a non-performing mortgage note. You need to know what your exit strategy is going to be. Are you looking to help the borrower modify the loan, or you're looking to move forward with foreclosure and now take over the asset? That's You have to consider that. Then also you want to consider what type of money am I going to be able to use to move forward with the asset. So my point that I make in all this is the due diligence and the strategy that I do, that I even tell my clients, this is what you want to do first. Doesn't matter if you're investing in multifamily, single homes, mobile homes, whatever the case may be, the analysis comes first. You need to know your numbers. And this part of it, I'm going to tell you right now, most people who may watch this video or watch the replay, they have already signed off because they're like, she looking at spreadsheets, numbers, doing calculations. Yeah, it's the boring stuff that allows you to make profit in your business. It's the stuff you don't want to do. And I know online with, a lot of sensationalism with, Instagram and, whatever, any type of social media app, people are giving you the highlight reel, but they're not really showing you the in the mud work. This is an example of in the mud work, running the numbers. And I haven't even showed you a full calculation of all the numbers I've ran. I only really ran three columns. Usually I have multiple columns that I am calculating to really make a real decision on what asset I'm looking to move forward and bid on. And this is the ugly work that people don't want to do. A lot of people like to do this sensational work, which is I'm looking for funding. I'm trying to get funding. And I tell people all the time, funding does not replace your ability to be able to find deals and and be able to analyze deals. Just because you have the funding doesn't mean you know how to find them, and doesn't mean you know how to analyze them. That is why so many people are being put behind the eight ball. And so I always tell people, let's have a conversation. Let me see where you are at, and then once we decide on what you want to invest in, then the funding piece goes next. Most people like to put the cart before the horse. They want to know, how do I get a whole bunch of money? And then once I know I got all this money, then I'll figure out my strategy with finding and analyzing deals. And I'm going to tell you that's going to be the worst way to move forward in real estate, because no one does it that way. This is the work that people do. They may not do it this way, but those who are successful and making waves and doing things in real estate, they're doing the ugly work first. They're analyzing their numbers. They know their numbers. They're running their numbers. May not look like this, but this is an example of the way I run my numbers. I don't start with, let me just get some funding. That's the sensationalism of real estate. But this right here is what I do. What I'm giving you an example, and for those who are watching the replay, I just broke down and did I did a short analysis of how I examine mortgage notes. This is distressed, non-performing mortgage debt. And so got a tape of 100 assets from a bank. What I did was I extracted states that I'm not interested in, because there were states all over the country, and I only and then I did a sort of the assets that I am interested in. So I ran a few calculations, didn't even run all the calculations that I normally do, but ran a few, looked at a few assets, and these are the things that I'm going to be doing going forward. And so it's not going to look pretty. It's not going to be sensationalized. I know a lot of people, that's what they like. They like the sensationalism of of real estate, but they don't like the real work. And so what I just showed you was the real work, being able to analyze your deal. And like I said, it may not even look like the way I did it, but at the end of the day, you still need to know your numbers. You don't know how many people I talk to and they don't know their numbers. All they know is, I need money to invest in real estate. And no one starts investing in real estate with, I need money. That is why I said I am a funding advisor. If you want to win with being able to leverage some form of funding, and there's all types of forms of funding. I'm not here, to get on no soapbox and say business credit is the only way. That's what is, very marketed in the marketplace right now. It all depends on your deal. But at the end of the day, you need to know your deal. And most people do not know your deal. So thank you for joining me on this episode of Never Lose a Deal podcast, or you are watching me here on YouTube. So if you enjoy what I just shared with you, please leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. But like I said, it's nothing pretty, definitely not sensationalized. But this is the work that has to be done if you want to win with leveraging debt. Because at the end of the day, it's nice to say I want to leverage credit, but it is also debt. And you need to know the numbers behind the debt that you want to leverage and pair it against the asset that you are looking to invest in. that that way you will not lose. You won't be put behind the eight ball. But it's not to say you're never going to make any mistakes, but at least you have a gauge, at least you have an idea. And that's my point. That's what I want to bring to you. I'm sharing with you the side of real estate that most people don't want to talk about. I'm going to share with you what it looks like when you are looking to really leverage any type of financing, whether it's credit, whether it's different types of mortgages. But at the end of the day, know what you are investing in. So once again, this is Lorelia. If you're watching me for the first time or you are a recurring listener, please rate and review. I'm on all the streaming apps. I'm on Apple, Spotify, you name it. I'm there. And if you're watching here on YouTube, please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Okay, bye bye.